Hi everyone, welcome back to the interview series with the presidents and secretaries of the month of Rotaract in RID 3220. So today we have with us Rotaract Ravindu Yapa from the Rotaract Club of Horizon Campus, who was the secretary of the month in the month of August 2024. So Rotaract Ravindu, first of all, many congratulations from all of us. How do you feel about this achievement?
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for having me. I felt awesome, but it was totally like a shock to me because like we were just starting to work because July was a bit vague, I would say, because there were no projects. We did one, but in August we were really getting together. We got into the club many new members, and they were like they were not in Rotaract in the past 2 years, so working with a fresh bunch, and so we did the work, and I was the secretary of the month. It was a huge shock, but then sort of like we realized when we backtracked, like how did this happen? So I realized that it could have been the work that we did, and obviously the reporting. Uh, yeah, I felt like initially it was a shock, but then again felt good. Yeah.
Amazing, and of course, your hard work has paid off. And speaking of which, what do you think that you might have done differently from the rest to be recognized in this month?
So when I talk about it, okay, so I don't think I am the textbook definition of a secretary. Since I was the president of the student council the previous year, I was doing both like the traditional secretarial duties like reporting and keeping track of things, and also at the same time leading teams. So supporting the president and all that. If I tell a bit about what we did differently, so since we had this issue of training new members, yeah, so we actually built teams. We sort of for the main project that we did that month, we sort of like made new teams, and I was personally assisting and helping some teams in sort of like giving them the correct idea of what we expect as the Opera Club of Horizon Campus and what standards the RID 3220 is about. So all those things I feel like indirectly sort of like, led to the whole thing. And then again, when talking about the secretarial duties, so I tried my level best to try and keep track of things, and, the correspondences, sending mails and all those things did smoothly. And when I did the reporting also, I tried to be as so what how do I say it, as accurate as possible. I tried to like include every single detail but not overdoing it, I could say. So yeah, all those things.
Of course, that balance is very important. And of course, it's a good strategy that you have decided to break it in teams, and that guidance really helps all the new members. And speaking of projects in that month, what kind of project or projects do you think in that month might have reinforced this award to get to you?
Okay, so that's a very straightforward answer because in the month of August, we only did like one main project, which was called Nil Carbon Katandare, or the Blue Carbon Tale. So this was the first case or the first episode of the umbrella project called Panagahena Parisara, which is the which is an initiative of this year for the environmental service aspect of the club's efforts. So Nil Carbon Katandare, the Blue Carbon Tale was, I mean, by the name also, it's pretty uncommon. It's pretty unique. When it comes to ecosystems and environments that we're talking about, the blue carbon ecosystem is something that is very like less talking about. So the idea came from the president actually, but then again, I was heavily involved in the PR as in, like the PR aspect of it. So this project was very unique in the sense the audience that we interacted with in this project is school students, but we'd say between O levels and like A levels. So we were able to get 17 esteemed schools from around Colombo. They actively participated, and on the day of the project, we had two very very good resource persons. One was Professor Sewandi, a chair professor from University of Wayamba, and then Mr. Medisha, one of the senior lecturers from our campus itself. And they did a very sort of like descriptive, but at the same time easy to digest presentations about the blue carbon ecosystems to these kids. And the most fun part of the project was the simulation activity that we did at the end, where we have a little fokuna at our campus. It's not little. So what we did was we had this very creative idea of simulating the blue carbon ecosystem around the Pokuna area that we already had, the pond area. So we took the kids to the Pokona and we had like, these animals and creatures from the blue carbon ecosystem. We printed their photos out and we sort of attached them to like razor cars and like we had a drone. So what they had to do was they had to keep an eye out. They had to observe the ecosystem and then pinpoint the animals, creatures, and they had to make a list. So we did that kind of a very interactive sort of very practical sort of thing in this project. So that in itself made the project both unique and also very impactful because at the end of the day, just a workshop or just a lecture or a seminar about an ecosystem doesn't really, give that sense to a kid's brain. We need to protect these ecosystems. These are endangered ecosystems. By the way, the Panagahana Pasture project is about endangered ecosystems. And so, yeah, this was the basic outline of the project. I'm sorry if I'm not being too specific about it, but yeah. So I think, we put all of our effort and focus into that project, and we were able to get the project into a news episode as well on Sirasa TV. So they aired it, I think, on a recent day. So yeah, it was one of the most unique and successful projects that we did.
Amazing, Tian. Like you said, it's something that I don't think I've heard earlier in a project. And like what you said, the sustainable aspect is very important when it comes to project lately. And finally, I'd like to ask you to do all this. Of course, you need the support from your members. What kind of support have you received from your club as well as your president and, of course, your board of directors?
Definitely, I definitely need to mention our president because this was his vision, his idea. He was the project chair because we wanted him to do that because he had the idea about what the blue carbon system thing was and what kind of a project to design. So his hand behind projects, it's something unique. It's something that he has. So obviously, I need to mention his name. And then again, as I told you, we were just starting and we had a fresh bunch of members who didn't have any prior experience about being in Rotaract. So this was sort of like their honeymoon phase in Rotaract. So they were like all in. I remember there were some girls, members who were supposed to do the ushering. So like they had to wear the sari, but at the same time they were doing like logistics stuff and they were like running to Pokuna and then to the auditorium back and forth and then like give it 5 or 6 minutes they turned back, like they switched back into the sari. So like it was a whole thing. They also sort of enjoyed it. We also I looked at it in a very sort of like with a huge sort of admiration because these members were working to sort of actualize one of our visions. So we felt that gratitude towards them, and they had a very sort of like safe space to work in. We let people work in their capacity. So the best thing that we did was actually to identify the talents and the potentials of each member. And when we divided the work teams, as in like decorations, logistics, operations, and kids who have intuition or members who had intuition, we put them in charge of like interacting with the students, like the kids, because school students are not like your usual campus crowd. It's like sometimes it's very difficult to like keep them in one place. So yeah, members, they supported a lot and I did my part and they did their part. This was a club effort.
Amazing. Like you said, teamwork actually makes the dream work. And it's amazing to hear. And best of luck for the rest of your club endeavors as well. And thank you very much for joining with us.
Thank you.
And congratulations once again as well. And that's all for this interview. Thank you very much for joining with us. And we will be back with more.